Guys, I'll start out with a PowerPoint presentation and then I'll get into a live demo of using File Sync, so you'll be able to see it in action. And I just want to get confirmation that you can see my File Sync slide. All right, I see down below it says Webinar GRAITEC is sharing your screen. Okay. All right, guys, well, welcome. So today's presentation is titled, I'm going to present how optimizing AEC projects by using GRAITEC File Sync program. So I'll start out with the PowerPoint overview, followed by a live demonstration of File Sync, and we'll see that in action. But before we dive into the software, I do want to go through this PowerPoint and identify reasons and show how we can use File Sync to help us in our day-to-day work. So File Sync, by its definition, is designed to enhance collaboration and improve efficiency when it comes to managing project data. So let's first explore some of the challenges. That'll give us the why, and then we'll see how it all works. So first, it's important to know that File Sync is designed to support a wide range of industries, from construction to architecture to engineering and also manufacturing. And any organization using the Autodesk Construction Cloud, BIM 360, or Procore, they can benefit from using the efficiencies and the streamlined workflow related to File Sync. Now, this image showcases a diverse range of software tools used in the AEC industry, and it's organized by functional areas around, in this case, around the Autodesk Construction Cloud. So with document file management, you probably will recognize some of the tools here. Tools like Dropbox, SharePoint, Google Drive, Autodesk Docs. They're all used for file storage and management. As far as data analytics, we've got platforms such as Power BI and MySQL, all used for data analysis and reporting. Workforce collaboration. There's a number of apps out there, apps like Microsoft Teams, Slack, Zoom. Here we're using our own web service here for collaboration. And then finally, on this side, financials and budgets. There's many solutions like QuickBooks and CMIC used for financial management. On the mixed reality side, there's a number of tools like Unity and the Wild are used for 3D visualization. My favorite out of this group is the reality capture. A number of technologies such as Faro, Matterport, OpenSpace, all used for converting real-world environments into a digital model. And then we've got site and safety management. We have products like Raycon, Leica, all used, and SafeSite, all used for managing site safety. And finally, at the bottom here, we've got products like Raycon, Leica, products like ESUB and Pipe, Procore, ACC, all used for project planning and tracking. As you can see, there's a number of tools. And so we probably hear in the industry the term single source of truth or common data environment. Well, it's really hard to narrow everything down to a single platform, a single product. And so that's where File Sync can come in, because we have a number of different tools out there, each of them having their own specialty, but we have data that we need to share back and forth between these different products. Now, Autodesk does have their own sync product. It's called ACC Connect, and ACC Connect is a great product. However, it does require some programming knowledge to operate it. You will need somebody that's more technically savvy to be able to configure it if you want to synchronize files between different data sources. And that's where File Sync can come in. It's very easy to use, and by the end of this webinar, you'll see how to download it and then use it so that you can start syncing some project data. So While the previous slide was more of an overview of all these different products in the AEC industry, there's actual data to support the need for products like File Sync. The construction industry, it faces significant challenges related to data integration and collaboration. And studies show that 54% of construction projects experience delays due to poor data integration. And 52% of professionals cite lack of real-time data as a major hurdle. And then additionally, productivity can decrease by an average of 20% when data collaboration is inefficient. So these statistics highlight the need for more seamless approach and easy approach for managing project information. So there are some key points that File Sync addresses. One of them deals with migration. We can easily move project data between different platforms. Another one is collaboration. We can ensure that teams who might have access to different platforms can access and work with the latest versions of files, no matter which platform they're in. On the backup side, and I used to do backups when I was in the industry, and I was also an IT director as well as a CAD manager. On the backup side, we can keep data secure and up to date with regular backups using File Sync. And then as far as compliance, we can maintain industry standards and audit requirements. So all of these capabilities are critical for successful project management. Now, just to dive a little deeper here, one of the key features of File Sync is the ability to migrate or synchronize data. So this includes moving data from one software to another, such as from maybe Windows to ACC to Procore to BIM 360 to OneDrive. Or it can also be used for handling large amount of data uploads. That's a key benefit because now we can schedule this after hours and we don't have to wait for our system to be tied up during the day as we're uploading or synchronizing multiple files. The goal here is to simplify the migration process while maintaining data integrity.
Mark?
Yep.
I just wanted to stop you there for a second. I do see that people are seeing your screen, but it seems like they can only see the title slide. Because it seems like we're not seeing any other slides besides that one. Would you mind resharing the screen once again, just so we can...
Sure. Yep, let me try that again. Thank you. Let's try this. Entire screen. Screen number 1. And let's do this now. Do you see the slide here that says collaborate?
Yes. Yes.
Interesting.
I think we should be good now.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thanks everyone. I apologize for that. I'm going to just jump back just to show you a couple things here real quick. So this was the slide that I was trying to show you earlier, all the different tools that are used by the AEC industry. Okay. This slide here is to show you the challenges related currently in the industry with 54% of construction professionals experience delays due to poor data integration. And then I started to go through the 4 main topics of File Sync here, which is migrate, collaborate, backup, and compliance. And this is where I had just left off. So apologize for that, but I think once we get to the demo part, that'll make up for that problem. So as far as collaboration, so many teams struggle with fragmented communication, version control issues, and accessing files stored in separate systems. And File Sync solves this problem by centralizing file management and ensuring that all stakeholders are working with the latest project information. I remember many years ago when we had customers who were trying to manually sync files from OneDrive. Back in the time, it was BIM 360 and also their file server. And, a product like this is the perfect solution for managing files across different systems. As far as data backups, without saying it, data backups are crucial, but they can be complicated, especially when managing diverse data sources. Back in the day when I was doing backups and I had backups on different systems, we were doing backups on different media like tapes, and it was extremely difficult when we had different systems, and when it was extremely difficult when I had to restore backups. Sometimes people should try and do manual backups, but the manual process can also increase the risk of data loss. So with File Sync, we can automate the backup process and we can make it easier to manage and reduce downtime. And finally, with compliance, it's vital with AEC projects, both for internal policies and external regulations. File Sync allows you to manage file access and ensure compliance with industry standards and demonstrate this through the use of reports and audits. So to summarize, File Sync currently supports a number of products such as BIM 360, Procore, ACC, OneDrive, Windows. And so with all these products, we're able to synchronize data between any of them. And this is a summary of really the benefits of using File Sync. With File Sync, it integrates various platforms and it ensures seamless data flow and connectivity. With process automation, we're automating repetitive tasks. And this allows for teams to focus on more strategic activities and thereby improving efficiency and reducing overhead. With collaboration, the solution enhances collaboration by enabling real-time data sharing across data sources, and it ensures that everyone is working with the latest information. And finally, it simplifies compliance by providing tools to track and manage regulatory requirements, and also helps teams to stay compliant with industry standards. So let's just look at a couple of examples before we dive live into the software, how it can be used. An example of how File Sync can be used for migration is moving a project from SharePoint to the Autodesk Construction Cloud. We have another number of customers who are brand new to the Construction Cloud. However, they've been using SharePoint for years, and they have a large amount of data on their SharePoint system. With File Sync, we can set up a migration or a sync that will take those files from SharePoint and move them up to a specific project, put them in specific folders or generate folders. So now that information in SharePoint as well as their ACC project will stay in sync. It also simplifies the collaboration by automating syncing of new or modified files with other team members through different platforms such as Procore. So, for example, if we're working with Procore and Docs and Procore files are updated, File Sync can automatically detect only those files that have been updated and then synchronize those files over to Autodesk Docs. And as we talked about on the backup side, I could back up any system to any to my file server, and I can create a schedule to run the backup automatically, so I don't have to do it. During the backup process, I can also apply filters, so I can filter out unnecessary files. So I can ensure that the information that I back up is the information that I need, and maybe not some redundant or outdated files. And then on the compliance side, compliance tracking, again, is made easier with File Sync by maintaining a detailed sync history. There's a log files that are generated, and they can be examined for auditing purposes and even visualized using data platforms like Power BI for in-depth compliance monitoring and reporting. So as you can see, File Sync supports all those key use cases: migration, collaboration, compliance, and backups across the many different platforms. So let's actually take a look at this live. Okay, first let's set the scenario before I'll show you how to use File Sync. On the left-hand side, I have an ACC project. And in that ACC project, I have all my folders, which I could easily migrate over to another project or back them up somewhere else. In this example, I'm going to back them up to my local file server or my local laptop. And I've got a folder that I've set up. I simply called it Webinar File Sync on Laptop. So this is where I will back up this folder into this folder. So now let's take a look at File Sync. I'll show you where to download it, but once it's downloaded and installed, the first thing that you have to do is you have to create the connections. So you can see I've already created connections for OneDrive, SharePoint, Autodesk BIM 360, the Autodesk Construction Cloud, and Procore. Now I'm going to delete this one right here. So these are the 5 main connections. I'll go through and I'll show you how we can create a connection. Pretty easy. I'm going to hit the Create Connection button. Immediately it's going to open up a window, and I'll go ahead and hit Continue. And I can decide on what my source is going to be. And you can see here, it says Autodesk Build, but this really should say ACC because I could use this for Build, for Docs, everything dependent on Docs. I have my BIM 360 platform, OneDrive, SharePoint, and Procore. I'll go ahead and select my Autodesk Build, and it does provide this option here that says, I'm with the company, so I'm going to now go through and log in using my Autodesk Build credentials. There's my company email address, and then there's my password. And this is the same email address and password I use to log in to the Autodesk Construction Cloud. Once I do that, it's now going to ask me to select a hub. I happen to belong to multiple hubs, and so you may only have one hub, but you'll simply click on it and scroll down, and this is my main hub, my CTG hub, but in this case, I'm going to connect to the AETG hub. So I'll select this hub. I have a number of projects on this hub, and then I have different projects on this hub. And then I'll simply hit Confirm. Now, once this happens, I can actually close this up. Notice right down here, I got confirmation that I've successfully connected to my Autodesk Build AETG hub. So I'll simply close this. And now this is File Sync. It actually is naming my connection here in File Sync. It's given it the same name as my hub, but to shorten this up, I'm going to say this is Autodesk Build AETG. If I want to put a description in here, I'm going to take this, I'm going to put this up in here in description, is my hub. And then if you want, you can put in your company name here if needed. It's optional, it's not required. And I'll simply click OK. So now you can see this is my hub. This is an account I have access to on the AETG account. And then I have a separate account up here for my CTG hub. 2 different ACC accounts. And now if I wanted to, I can sync files between these 2, or actually I can sync anything between any of these connections. So I've now created the connection. It's been authorized using my email address and password. And now the next step is to come over here to projects. Now these are file sync projects. I'll show you how to create a project, and then I'll show you how to configure the synchronizations that are part of the file sync project. But let's look at some examples of some that I've already created. In this example, I have a project that I call BIM 360 Files Only to ACC. And in this case, I'm putting a description in here. This could be an example of a migration. Maybe I want to take a bunch of files that are in a BIM 360 project and migrate or synchronize them over to an ACC project. If I do that, I have the option to schedule it, or on the right-hand side, I can hit the play button. I can do it on demand. I can configure it, or I can delete it. Let's take a look at this one. Again, I'm going to create a brand new one, so we'll dive into it. But I'm just showing you an example. Windows to ACC. I can create a project here that I run daily at 12 p.m. every hour, and it will automatically synchronize specific information I tell it to from my Windows up to Autodesk Build. All right. Let's jump down to this one, and I'll jump up to the third one. This is an example where I set this up to back up a number of projects, ACC projects. So I have a file sync project called Backup Projects to MS Windows. And I have this run daily at 2 a.m. every 24 hours. There are a total of 4 syncs that are run. And what am I actually backing up to my file server? These are my projects: Great Plains, Wolf Den, Weston Residence, and Apple Springs. All of those ACC projects are being backed up to a specific area on my file server. Now, I can schedule this for all of these syncs, or I can schedule each sync separately. So I have the choice there. This example, it actually shows I have 2 syncs. It says sync Windows to build and sync build to Windows. So I'm not sure where the data gets updated. Maybe it gets updated in builds, maybe it gets updated in Windows. But if I update it in one location, I want to make sure I sync it back to the other location. And so I've got this bi-directional sync set up. And as you can see, I've got one that starts at 2 a.m. and the other one that starts at 3 a.m. So those are some examples of some syncs that I've set up. Let's go ahead and just create one right now on the fly, and we'll see how this works. So remember, I want to synchronize these folders that are in this project, and I want to sync them over to my Windows file server, and I'm going to put it in this folder here called Webinar File Sync on Laptop. So let's take a look at that. I will first create the project, and I'll say Webinar Demo, File Sync Project. I could put in a description, I could put in the company name. If I want to, I can schedule it. I can select the days of the week, I can pick the start time, and then I can decide on how often I want this to run, from 15 minutes all the way up to 24 hours. Now the system is configured to automatically email me whenever it runs and it's successful or not. If I come over here and I take a look at this override notification, you'll notice right here it's got my email address, and I get notified if there are any errors, when it's completed, if there are any warnings, or if anything changes. But I'm not going to override that. I'm just going to accept the defaults, and I will click OK. This is a project. Now I have to tell it, actually I'm going to rename that one, Demo. Now I'm going to set up my sync jobs so it knows what to synchronize. So I'll come over here, make sure you select the project, hit Create Sync, and now I'm going to select the source, and I'm going to select the destination. Remember, I want to go from my ACC project up here, that's the name of it, up-1.build, and I want to send it over to my Windows file server. So connection, I'm going to first pick where's that project located, on what account. Is it in Procore? Is it in BIM 360? It happens to be in this ACC account. Now I'm going to select the project. And notice as I select the project, there's a lot of projects I have access to. So using the filter option right here, I can actually filter, and I'm going to type in 1 dot because I got that in my project name. And now I'm selecting the actual project. The next step is to tell it what information in the project that I want to sync. So I will come over here, and here's my project files, and here's this folder called File Sync Webinar, and here are the actual folders, and there's some files in each of these that I want to synchronize or copy to my destination. So I'm picking a folder. Now, if I want to do the entire project, then I'll simply select project files and it'll grab everything. But for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and select just this one folder. Notice it says here I can include subfolders. I can sync everything, or I could start getting more specific and say sync only documents. Maybe uncheck the rest of these. Or if I wanted to use the exclude option, I would say, okay, let's go ahead and exclude documents. Or maybe I want to expand this and say exclude specific documents. Maybe I don't want to include my DOCM and my ODP files. So you can get pretty granular as far as what you want to sync or not sync. There's not a lot of files here. I'm just going to sync all. And then finally, I can skip files that are larger than a certain size, which I'm not going to bother here. Finally, as far as destination, I'm going to sync this to Windows. And now I'm going to go ahead and pick my location here. This is my folder on my laptop, so I will select it and I will hit select folder. Notice that I can create new folders that are in the source. I can create them in the destination. So typically we leave that on. We also typically leave this set to incremental, where it will only copy files that have changed since the last backup. And that's important because that could shorten the amount of time when it comes to backing up. Since this is going to be my first time backing up those folders and files, I can leave it set to that and it will grab everything. Otherwise, I could always say every time you do a sync, copy all the files. But in this case, I'm just going to do incremental. For those that may not be aware, versioning with the Autodesk Construction Cloud, ACC, BIM 360, as we copy files up to the cloud, and if it's the same file over and over again, it will overwrite the previous versions. The good news is it will identify the versions. It'll create a V1, V2, V3. So I don't have to worry about overwriting something I shouldn't have. I can always go back to a previous version if necessary. Unfortunately, here on my laptop, I can't use versioning. This is only part of ACC. So if I was going the other way around, then it would work. And then finally, if there were some folders in the cloud that eventually get deleted, I could also configure this to delete those folders also on the Windows file system. So that's optional if you decide to use that. Finally, the last thing I would do here is just name this, be appropriate, and I'll say build to docs or build to Windows webinar example. And then I'll click OK. So here it's going to copy specific folder. And actually, now that I go back in here, I'm going to be copying the File Sync Webinar folder. Maybe I put the folder name down here. There's 0 File Sync Webinar folder. And I can do that. So this kind of lets me know what's being synced. Now, for the most part, the only thing left to do is decide when I want to run this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. And I'm going to open up this folder. You can see I've got nothing in here. And now what I can do is I can run this on demand. So I'll hit Start Job. And in this case, in just a few seconds here, you're going to start to see folders appear. So there's my File Sync webinar folder. And if I go ahead and double click on that, you can see the subfolders that were copied over. If I open up some of these folders, like I think this MS Office, I had a bunch of Excel files in it, and there they are. There's the Excel files that got copied down from the cloud. So in just a second here, this is going to finish. I could always stop it, but I'll let this finish. You can see also right up here, it shows that it was running, but it tells me right here that it says, hey, we just finished syncing your job. Now, with that said, let's say that I want to view an activity or a log file on that. If you notice here on the left-hand side, it says activity. If I had gone here while it was syncing, I would actually see this run line by line. And so I can monitor this live as it's syncing files back and forth. And you can see here it's listing out every file, and it's telling me that it's downloaded it. Okay. And so it went ahead and it successfully finished downloading. So this is my activity log. And if I want to, I can compress this, and you can see that I had a previous activity, and then this is the one I just did for my File Sync webinar folder. If I wanted to, I can come over here and just clear out this log. Now I don't have an activity log here. Well, I don't have a list from my activity, but over here on the left where I have logs, this does keep a history. And so at the very top, it starts from the top down. We can actually see the project that was run, the sync within that project. You can see how much data was run and that it completed. And down below is my entire log file. And it's short in this case. If I come back up here to projects, watch what happens if I rerun this. I'm going to rerun it, and I'll go to the activity log, and you'll start to see it. And notice it's going down the list, and it's telling me right here, and that finished pretty quick because nothing changed. Remember, I told it only synchronize files that have changed. And you can see that it went and it skipped all of these files. And sure enough, it tells me at the very bottom how many files were skipped. So there's my activity. We saw that run live. And again, if I come over to the log file here, we can see it right up at the top, and it shows you that 0 megabytes for my transfer file size. So again, I went from ACC to my file server, but I could have gone from ACC to BIM 360 to Procore to OneDrive. All of those different platforms, I could have synced between them. And SharePoint, that was the other one I forgot. All right, well, let me show you how you can get to where I was just showing you. Let's go back into PowerPoint. So let's talk about the trial and the support. First of all, you can download File Sync either directly from our website. If you use GRAITEC Advantage, you can get it from there, or you can go to the Autodesk App Store. Now, there are some limitations to the trial. All right. So during the trial, you're limited to 1 gigabyte of data sync across all projects, and you're restricted to a maximum of 3 syncs. Each sync is going to be capped off at 25 files and 500 megabytes, but this ensures it's a manageable load while you evaluate the software. Let me show you what it looks like on our website. I'm going to select on it. So you could also Google GRAITEC File Sync. It'll take you directly here. You could read information about it. You can download your free trial right from here. As you get there, right here it says download your 15-day free trial. All you have to do is click on it, and immediately it'll start to download. See right up here, it's starting to download. And then it tells you to select the install select it to install the trial license, fill out some information, and then you can run your free trial. If you need some help, they do, GRAITEC, we do provide you a PDF file that you could open up and review that. We also provide you a video that you can watch that so you know how to download and install File Sync. Okay. If you need some help with File Sync, all right, I do have a link here that I can click on. It'll take me there, but really, you probably will need help after. If you're going to need help, you will need it after you install the program. So let me just jump over into File Sync. Right here in the upper right hand corner, you'll see a little question box. Select help, and here it's taking you and it says introducing File Sync. And you can see a number of options here on the left hand side you can select. I would recommend that you scroll down to the very bottom, and you'll see right over here they have the quick start guide, and then they have how File Sync works. But if you access the quick start guide, that could be of some help for you. Okay. You could also Google GRAITEC File Sync quick start guide if you need to. And finally, on YouTube, there's a number of videos that we have uploaded. There are a number of videos. Actually, there's a total of 17 videos. So if you want just an overview of File Sync, you want to look on how to schedule syncs, how to create the source folder in the destination, how to delete files not found in the source. So a bunch of short videos. They're only a couple minutes long, and so they're very specific. So it won't take a lot of time for you to really get familiar with how to use File Sync. And that's it. That's pretty much it, guys. So apologize for the little hiccup at the very beginning there, but that is File Sync. Are there any questions?
All right, thank you, Mark, for the presentation. And as Mark said, we'll open the floor for your questions. Feel free to drop them in the live chat and we shall address them. I have a couple of questions here myself that I can kind of pose to you to get the ball rolling. Number one, do you install File Sync on a server?
File Sync does not have to be installed on a file server. Typically, it'll be installed on a PC. It could be installed on a file server, but wherever it gets installed, what's important is the person will have to have the correct authentication. It's going to have to be the person who could log into Build or log into Procore or SharePoint. So it could be any Windows environment, either PC, laptop, server. So it doesn't have to be just a file server.
Got it. Number two, how long does it take to sync a typical project from my ACC to file server?
So syncing files, the program runs pretty quickly. What we're really dependent on is the internet bandwidth. So depending on your company's internet speed, the more bandwidth you have, the faster it'll run. Whether it's upload or download. When you have a large amount of data, that's why a lot of companies will schedule it to happen after hours, because nobody's there at 3 o'clock in the morning. So File Sync has full access to the bandwidth, and so it can start syncing files pretty quickly. So the program is pretty quick. It's just a matter of the internet speed that you have within your office and the number of people who may be logged in at the same time.
Perfect. And my third and final question for you is, can you install File Sync on individual employee computers?
You can. We've had some people ask about that. So when people ask that, they're usually asking it because they're thinking of tools like OneDrive, Dropbox, Box. It's not made for that. Can you do it? The answer is yes. File Sync typically is made for a single computer that could access the different platforms, including the file server. So if you want to do backup purposes, if you're looking to synchronize files for individual users, that could all be done with like OneDrive. You don't need file sync for that. So could you do it? Yes, but is it recommended? Is it advised? No, it's not, because it's made for bigger things than just syncing individual files.
Great, thanks for clearing that up. And well, that's it for me. So we'll give it a couple more seconds to see if any last-minute questions happen to pop in.
Okay.
And in case anybody's wondering, we will definitely provide you with the recordings of this webinar to your registered email addresses.
Thanks, guys. I mean, take a look at our website. You can Google GRAITEC File Sync. You can go ahead and download it. Very easy to configure and install, and it's very easy to learn and use. So I would encourage you to at least try it out, using the 15-day trial, and then you can hook up with our technical team if you guys have any questions or want to do a full implementation if needed.
I do see a question from Carla Rodriguez. Is the license purchased per user?
No, typically it's an office license. Yeah. Yeah. So you can, and that leads me to say, I should have said this. You can use it for unlimited projects, that you can access, because the software is getting loaded at your office, but you're accessing files that are in the cloud. And so the license would be for the office, and then whatever projects your users can access, you'll be able to sync with those projects.